Hey guys, happy Monday. Today is Monday the 13th, so Celiac Awareness Month, day number 13. My name is Tracy. I am a certified health and wellness coach, and I have been doing go lives the entire month of May to share some helpful information, answer some questions regarding celiac, and I've had a little bit of stuff in there for non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Um, but anyway, just kind of wanted to share some different topics each day. Today's topic actually is the overwhelm. So who am I and how do I get to share opinions about the overwhelm and what do I actually know? Well, like I said, my name is Tracy. I'm a certified health and wellness coach. Prior to that, I was actually a pharmaceutical sales rep for 17 years. And was diagnosed about 10 years ago myself with celiac after my daughter started having some issues with multiple ear infections. And we discovered that she had, at a minimum, a non-celiac gluten sensitivity, quite possibly celiac. Started reading more, and over the last 10 years have done a whole lot of educating myself, looking at credible versus non-credible websites. That has to do with my training as a pharmaceutical sales rep and knowing what information actually kind of carries weight out there. So I have done a lot of education, and then when I left pharmaceutical sales, as I said, I got certified as a health and wellness coach, and so now I work from home as an entrepreneur. I'm partnered with an amazing health and wellness company that has made it a lot easier for me to provide healthy meals for my family. And I also coach people one-on-one for achieving their health and wellness goals. So the overwhelm, how do you deal with that? Well, I will say this. I also run a group for people called Positive Celiac and Gluten-Free Support. It's a Facebook group. And the reason that I started that Facebook group is because I noticed that in some of these bigger groups that people can get lost in them. There are people who have been on these groups for a long time and they've learned a lot. And I will say that when I think about where I was when I first started, when I was first diagnosed with celiac versus where I am now, I mean, it's a huge transition. My first couple of years, I know that I was still getting cross-contaminated because I didn't know better. And I think about where these people are when they start, and sometimes people just, they feel like they're just drinking from the fire hose. They got diagnosed with celiac, and they may have received information from their healthcare provider and had a scheduled consultation with a nutritionist, or been referred to maybe somebody like me, like a health and wellness coach, to help them work through that journey, but they have no clue where to start. Maybe one person in their family was diagnosed with celiac, but not everybody was. And then they're trying to figure out, does everybody deal with this? And how do I deal with all of these situations now? And I will say that when it comes to celiac, because it's only 1% of the population, it's not widely understood. And even within the medical community, there's still a lot of physicians, primary care, and even some gastroenterologists that aren't as well educated on celiac because when you look at what their CME is, and I've talked about this before, a lot of CME has to do with treatment of disease and has to do with understanding medication, side effects, things like that. There is no medicine for celiac. Celiac is controlled by by dietary changes. And most healthcare providers only have a couple of hours of training when it comes to nutrition. So, you can't train somebody on something that you're not trained on yourself. They also, as healthcare providers, that yes, they'll go and they'll do their CME, but they're real people too, and they need to have lives. They need to be able to actually spend time with their families. So they have to make decisions about where they're spending their time, just like the rest of us do. So how do you get out of that overwhelm? How do you deal with it? Because with celiac, like I said, it's something that's managed based on nutrition, based on food changes. And when you think about our lifestyle, especially the American culture, I know with the internet that this can be seen, around the world. But really, definitely in the American culture, there's a lot of things that tend to revolve around food, with social gatherings, with, oh, it's the end of the year party. Okay, let's bring food. Oh, we're having a celebration at somebody's birthday at work. Hey, let's bring food. We're celebrating nurses. Last week was celebrating nurses and teachers. Let's bring food. That's great for so many people. But for those with celiac, a lot of those things that are staple items, the celebration things, the cakes, the cupcakes, pizza, the easy things to serve especially for large groups of people, they've got gluten. And so the thing is that people are saying, well, well, why am I going to make a change for this one person? And nobody wants to be that one person that says, oh, you have to change everything for me, because then they, that's not what most people want. That's just the reality of it. What a lot of people want with celiac is just an awareness that they can be safe and to know what's going on so that they can plan ahead of time. And if you take it with that perspective, it's different. And I will say also within these groups, I see different stages of where people are dealing with it and how they're dealing with it. And some people say, oh, well, when I go somewhere, everything needs to be gluten-free. I mean, the reality is that not everything's going to be gluten-free. If you happen upon certain places and they're gluten-free, that's amazing, okay? But the reality is that we are all individuals and that not everything in this world is going to be carved for us, and it shouldn't be. Okay, but to be prepared for us to be prepared for the world, for us to prepare our children for the world versus expecting the world to be prepared for them, that's a whole different come from. And the way that I look at it is I just need to know what to prepare for, and I just need to be able to ask some questions. Like yesterday, I talked about being able to go out to eat and how I dealt with that. Okay, well, how do we deal with being able to prepare for things in advance? Know what situations you're going into. When you have social events and things like that, how can you prepare for that? Figure out what are these people going to serve. And can you just ask what the ingredients are? Can you ask where it's being made? Maybe you reach out to the caterers. So you're not asking people to completely change what they're doing, but you're at least knowing what's going on. You have a group of people that want to go out to eat, and you want to go out to eat too because you don't want to have to sit at home all the time. Okay? Don't sit at home all the time, but say, hey, what is it you guys are thinking about eating? What type of food is everybody in the mood for? And then go and do your background work. Look into finding on the Find Me Gluten-Free app. Where are some places that are safe, and make some suggestions on that. You're not asking people to make all of their changes. You're just asking that what you're doing fits in with what it is that they're doing. But I get it. You're overwhelmed. You're drinking from the fire hose. You don't know where to start. And you might have people that are making fun of you. It's been 10 years. Believe me, I've been belittled. I've been in situations where I felt isolated. I felt left out. And there have been situations where I've point blank not gone somewhere because I just didn't want to have to deal with it. And that's just like anything in life. There's going to be times in life when you don't want to be a part of something and it has nothing to do with your celiac. That's okay. Celiac is just like anything else. You're going to learn how to handle it. So what are some of those situations? Well, like I said, groups of people going out. My daughter is a tween, and I see it now where some of her friends have questioned, what is it that she's eating? Why does she have to eat that? But I've also seen those same questions come about when people are bringing fresh, prepared, real food from home, whether it has gluten or not. Yes, I do try to make sure that my daughter's lunch has more real foods, more prepared foods from home versus stuff out of packages. But there are exceptions. You got to have a balance to it. But a lot of the time, it's that what has become normal and accepted in our society is a lot of fake food. So a lot of the times, the kids that are asking my daughter, what are you eating, are the same kids that are eating Lunchables, that are eating the school foods that are processed, that's how they're transported because that's what's easy. So you've got to be able to be strong in it. You've got to learn to take the time to educate yourself and to educate others. But it's also a matter of, like I said, expectations of others. Don't expect people to completely change for you. Just expect to be able to have those open conversations. The other confusing part to other people is that when it comes to something like an allergen, I know that when my daughter was starting school, actually when she was in preschool, there were a couple of kids in the school that had nut allergies. So it was a peanut-free facility. And I thought, okay, well, I'm cooking with like almond flour and coconut flour because my daughter can't have regular flour. And so I had to make sure that what I was doing wasn't going to kill somebody else. And it's not to make light of that, but I think that that's where the confusion comes in, because when it has to do with severe food issues, people can understand an allergen because they can understand that something airborne can kill another person. That they get. But it's like, well, how seriously should I take this? Because we don't have to completely change everything for you, so why should I bother changing anything for you? People are looking at, I want to go to a wedding, but you know, this is times where you figure out how to kind of prepare ahead of time. Don't go and call the bride and the groom who are dealing with so many other things and expect them to completely change everything. Just find out, hey, can I find out who your caterer is? Find out what you've got. I just want to know what I need to do to prepare, because I know you've got a lot on your plate, and I want to make sure that I can participate and be a part of your amazing day. And I'm so grateful you're inviting us. These are the little things that you can do. It's just a matter of finding things out. Spend some time ahead of time asking questions. If you're joining groups, and I'm going to just kind of hit a couple of points with this because this is the other place that I really see a lot of overwhelm. People just get diagnosed and they are on some of these like Facebook groups because it's great to connect with people who have the same issue, who have worked through it, but people are at different levels. They might have a ton of experience or they might have very little experience. And the people who have a ton of experience, they've worked through a lot of those things up front. And then the newbies will come in and they're like, okay, well, what can I eat? And somebody else is asking about sunscreen and they're like, I just need to know what to feed my kid for lunch tomorrow because I don't know what's safe in my house right now. What do you mean like sunscreen? And what do you mean change out all your pots and pans? Just start somewhere. Start with what's most important and start with, which is going to be, what's your next meal? What is your child's next meal? Start there. Then work your way into the other things. Don't have to worry about everything all at once and realize that you need to give yourself some grace. Like I said, truthfully, I couldn't figure out for about 2 years what was going on. And after being diagnosed, I was still having dermatitis herpetiformis. And from time to time, I still get a rash or I still get an upset stomach because there's something that I'm like, ooh, I goofed. I forgot to look out for that. And I give myself grace. The goal is to keep myself safe and healthy. And it's not to make light of or compare it to some other disease, but if you think about things like high blood pressure, people with high blood pressure, they need to be reducing their salt intake, and they should. But over time, there's going to be times that they're also going to have things with salt in it. They're not going to have the same type of reaction. So it's not to minimize the reaction or the damage that is done over time when it comes to having celiac. But at the same point in time, there's a lot of damage that's done when somebody already has high blood pressure and they continue to have those foods that are high in sodium, that are high in processing and things like that are going to make their high blood pressure worse. So it is important to understand the short term, the long term, to take it one day at a time, to figure out just where to start, which is where's your next meal coming from, and then work your way. Don't expect that you're going to get everything solved at once. Understand you're going to have some times that you're going to mess up, and there are going to be some people out there that are understanding, and embrace and love and thank those people. My daughter and I are going to a wedding next month for one of her former babysitters, former teachers, and actually when we went to the bridal shower a couple weeks ago, Amber was so sweet to comment that, hey, by the way, when it comes to the food, like I actually thought about you guys, and here's what you can have, and here's where you want to not eat something or prepare or bring your own stuff. That meant the world to me. Like I wanted to cry because that was so incredibly kind of her. But she didn't have to do that, and I didn't come in with an expectation of her doing that because she has a lot on her plate. She's getting ready to get married. She's got a big wedding to plan. And just understand that where you're coming from, that's the matter of figuring those little things out. For moms of little ones who've just been diagnosed, this was definitely something that came up in another group because I asked, how can I help? And there was a question about, where do we start? What do we do as far as school goes? And, those are things I hadn't really thought about because when it came to my daughter, I just spent the time educating the teachers. I didn't go in and have a 504 for that. I had a 504 for other things. For her attention issues and now for seizures. But I didn't actually have a separate 504 for her celiac. It just kind of depends on the situation as to what's right for you. But start small. You've got this. Find a community, connect with people that understand, ask questions, and be strong in where you're coming from. Know that you're doing the right thing for yourself. You're doing the right thing for your loved ones. I am cutting this short a little bit. I've actually got to go pick my daughter up because we're heading to Duke, and she's going to start her 48-hour EEG to figure out if we have her seizures under control or not. So tomorrow's topic, I'm going to have to post it in the comments. I apologize, but I'm just trying to think about getting everything together and going in one direction to go pick my daughter up and going in the opposite direction to go take her to the specialist to be able to get these tests underway. So I appreciate you tuning in. If you have questions or topics that you want me to cover for Celiac Awareness Month, please post your thoughts in the comments below. If you find this helpful, please share this with others. If you would like to read more about where I'm sharing information about gluten-free and the gluten-free lifestyle that we've been living for the last 10 years, restaurants that I review, tips that I give out, then check me out on enmegfree.com. Letter E, letter N, me, gfree.com. And there's also a connection on there if you're interested in that simple nutrition plan that we use. Yes, we eat real foods too. I actually just threw some cracked chicken in the crock pot because it's one of those days. Throw the dinner in the crock pot, go pick up my daughter, go handle what needs to be done. It can be done. You can manage this, I promise. And have an amazing day. Thank you guys so much. And